Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jacks. I don't care if I ever get back, 'cause it's root for the home team. They don't win, it's a shame, 'cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Welcome to Let's Get To, the baseball show from the fans' perspective. Now here's your host, James Christopher.
And so welcome to this episode of Let's Get To. We are out here at the Depot in Cleburne, Texas, home of the Cleburne RailRoaders. And as you can see, Mother Nature and the Cleburne RailRoaders are having a game of wills, a game of chicken, if you will. And right now in the middle are me and Jessica and Andrew Nelson from Minnesota. But either way, we got a great show coming for you today. It's our special Memorial Day episode. So rather than do an intro here, I'm going to throw it to my very handsome co-host to talk a little bit about Memorial Day. Back to you, Jim.
Let's Get To presents the first pitch. Opening thoughts from James Christopher.
Thanks, Jim. Yes, I'm coming to you from the normal Let's Get To studio. There's nothing in here. You're going to hear a little bit of an echo. I wanted to do this very first segment about such an important day from this new space. The only thing up here is a new fat head on the wall. Thanks to Alex for suggesting this. This is pretty sweet looking. Yes, I want to talk a little bit about Memorial Day. And those of you who have been following the show know that I'm pretty upfront about my service, having been in the military for 7 years, and all of those experiences, at least to a degree, that come with that, including having friends of mine who haven't come home. Now, Memorial Day means a lot of things to a lot of different people, and none of those things are inherently bad. The beauty of America is we can reflect on the sacrifice while still celebrating what those people sacrificed for. But I do want to reflect on the meaning of the day. Again, for many people, it's the beginning of summer. It's the beginning of summer movie season. It's a great weekend to get out and catch a ball game. And all of those things are beautiful. But for a certain percentage of the population, it is a day of mourning. And that population are vets. It's dependents, relatives of men and women who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Happy Memorial Day isn't a greeting we should be using. Happy Memorial Day doesn't exist. The idea is, if you are close to someone who lost their life, this is one of those days that it's going to hit you. And whether that person was killed in Vietnam, whether that person died in Afghanistan months ago, doesn't matter how long ago it was, that loss is always there. And it's really felt today more than any other. It's also not a day for thank you for your service. Because again, for me personally, I am thinking about those individuals that brothers and sisters that didn't come home, including the ones that I knew personally. And I'm thinking about one of my very best friends who served. He gave this country 25 years of his life and saw way more than his share of brothers that didn't come home. So keep those things in mind when you're going about your weekend. When you're interacting with people who maybe lost someone, or if you run into a vet at the grocery store. It's a heavy day. And look, you should still enjoy these things. Go to the movies, go to a ball game, enjoy this summer. We're going to. But for us, it's going to be just a little bit different. And we do want to say from the Let's Get To team to everyone that for everybody who lost a son or a daughter or a husband or a wife, our souls, our hearts, our love, our prayers are with you. We thank you for that sacrifice. We wish we could snap a finger and bring everyone home. We can't. And so just know that you are forever in our hearts, and we will always be there for you and do our best to support you. So again, enjoy Memorial Weekend. Just keep in mind that for a lot of people, it's a pretty awful weekend, and just at least show them a bit of courtesy. And one of the things you can do is, if you're at a ball game and the anthem is played, think about it for a second, what that anthem means for every veteran that's at the ballpark. And maybe it's not the time to stand in the beer line or dress your hot dog, but to take the minute or so that the song lasts to reflect that all these things we can enjoy, because a very small percentage of us thought that all of this was worth dying for.
On deck, the Let's Get To interview.
We are excited to welcome to Let's Get To, again, good friend of the show, one of the must follows on Twitter from our end anyway, Brian Barfield, big Sarge Sportz. Brian, first of all, you've been all over 790 lately. Thanks for taking some time to talk to little old me.
Oh man, listen, that's just something I do. It's almost like hanging out, right? It's just like hanging out. So I go and 3 times a week I'm there, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, just to hang out. I think, mostly because ND needs a friend. I always call him a caveman. Look at me telling a guy who played in the NFL for 12 years he needs a friend. No, he affords me the opportunity to be able to come in there, man, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's funny because my brother-in-law played football at Marshall, and I wouldn't say he played with ND. I would say that ND hit him a lot when he was a freshman. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of playing going on. Brian, big Sarge Sportz, you wear your veteran, identity on your sleeve. Talk to me a little bit about Memorial Day. We had you on for Veterans Day, and I love to bring that perspective, but explain how Memorial Day is just a little bit different for those people who maybe don't understand.
Well, Memorial Day is the day and the time for people to reflect on those who are no longer here. It's a day to honor those who gave their life for our service. Gave their lives for this country, who lost their lives in battle, for those who served and died of natural causes and things like that. So it's just a day to go back and reflect on those who served this country. Compared to Veterans Day, is for people, who are still living, who are veterans. It's a day that Veterans Day is a day to make sure that we honor them.
It's funny because like everything else, and I don't begrudge how people view Memorial Day. I understand it's also the first day of summer. I get all that. And I think part of how America works is that's okay too. You can do that. Yeah. I know for me, I always try to take a little bit of quiet to reflect on friends of mine who aren't here anymore.
Yeah. And so that's what I do. That's what I do as well. And it's really funny because a lot of people do not see the difference. They'll tell me, hey, happy Memorial Day. Thank you for your service. And I'm like, I'm still here. That's Veterans Day is when you tell me that, not right now. And, let me say this before I even, get into it. And so I like Memorial Day, and it took on a whole different meaning for me when I joined the military. When I joined the military, that's a whole different day. Because I'm going to be honest with you. It used to be a day where I was like, happy Memorial Day. We off, right? Like, we don't have to work. That's a day we have off, Chris. So, I can, partake in some adult beverages throughout the weekend because I'm going to be off that Monday, right? Right? I got some barbecues already lined up. So either you're going to give me the day off or I'm going to call in sick. But it gave me a whole different appreciation for it once I served in the military. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think even after I got out, it became almost more important than because like when you're in, you don't really reflect on your own mortality a whole lot. Like,
yes,
it was neat because in the Army, you also got Friday off, so it was a 4-day week.
Yes. Cool. Yeah, I love those 4-day weekends too, man. It was a blast, especially when I was stationed overseas. It gave the family a chance to be able to get out and have some fun, and gave us a chance to be able to get out and to explore.
I want to ask you something that you're completely unprepared for, but I think you're going to be able to give an answer to. And I want to talk a little bit about January 6th and the craziness that happened. As a vet, do you think more anger than most? Because I was thinking about all the stuff people have sacrificed to keep this country together, and to see those jackasses try to tear it down really bugged the crap out of me.
And let me preface my statement by saying this. And I mean, this because, you and I follow each other on social media, but Before I give this answer, I want to make sure that everyone knows that. So I'm not affiliated with any political party. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not an independent. I'm a truther. I go right down the line, and what it does, whatever falls on the truth. And so if that means it falls on the Republican side, if it falls on the Democratic side, then that's who I'm for. So January 6th was an embarrassment to the United States. It was an embarrassment to the United States. And as a veteran, it really bothered me because, when you take the oath of enlistment, it says you defend this country, we would defend this country against enemies, both foreign and domestic. Well, I've seen the foreign side. I never thought that I would live to see the day where it'd be a domestic side. And so to see the way that people reacted because they did not get what they wanted, to see people react in a way like spoiled brats and then take it upon themselves to try to harm others because they did not get what they wanted. That's not what we signed. We didn't raise our right hand and take the oath of enlistment for people to have to go and defend against people who are mad because votes didn't go their way or their person that they wanted, didn't get into office. That was the sad part about it. And I'm saying to myself, I'm saying, I'm embarrassed, one. And then the military side, the Army side kicked in. And I'm saying, you do realize that other people who want to attack this country are looking, and you all are giving them the blueprint. You all are giving them the blueprint on reaction time, on what needs to be done. And even now, even in the aftermath, they're still arguing and debating over this January 6th insurgency, and they still don't want to get it right. And I'm saying, you're still leaving us open because two entities can't get along. You're still leaving us open to being attacked. And so, yes, man, as a veteran, I was very, very, very embarrassed because, you said I wear my, the fact that I'm a veteran on my sleeve. I wear the fact that I'm an American too. And I don't want that to sound bad to any other country, but, just like I'm proud to be from Texas, I'm proud to be from America. And I just think that was a terrible day for us, and it made us look bad.
I love that you brought up the vulnerability side, and I agree. The more we debate about this, and then you see countries all over the world starting to get a little more like they're about to start acting the fool, and you can only wonder if part of that is because they detect weakness in our ability to respond if we can't agree that we all saw the same thing on TV.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you nailed something. That's something that I've not heard from from people other than other vets, and I'm glad you said it here. One of the things I want to talk about, two sports stories for you. You're one of the best to do it, and I think you have a real direct. How you tweet is how you seem to be, and I can't wait to meet you in person to find out. But now we're dropping this a little bit. It's coming out on Memorial Day, so we're obviously a little bit ahead, or a little bit when we record it. But let's talk about the journalistic integrity or lack thereof to pull what Shannon Sharpe pulled. Maybe give some context and why you think that was really not the way to do things.
Okay. And so in full disclosure, I don't know, because I went back and I've been reading all day, and some people say, oh no, Julio knew, and Julio knew that he was going to call in. I don't know. I'm just going to go under the premise that Julio did not. You never, ever, ever, as a media personality, as a journalist, you never put someone on the spot like that. To call him while you're on air, to call him while in the middle of you doing your show. We know who you are. We know you're Shannon Sharpe. We know that you got clout. We know that you have connections. We know that a lot of these current and former players love you. They'll talk to you. That's why you're able to have a personal number for Julio Jones. But to do that and not to preface and let him know he's on air, because not even the fact of him saying, I'm out of there, like Fox can be fined through the FCC because he cussed. Like, people didn't pick up on that.
Oh,
he cussed. And so he said SHIT, and so I'm saying to myself, and that's, hold on, full disclosure, that's why I never call my friends and put them right on air like that, because I know that they don't, decorum is out the air. It's out the window if I don't tell them up front, this is what's going to happen. And so integrity wise, you never want to do your friends like that. You never want to do anybody that you're going to interview like that or potentially interview. And you never want to put your brand or the people that you work for in jeopardy like that. Because if you're going to do that to Julio, he doesn't know. As soon as he picks up the phone and if he'd have said, "What's up, my N-word?" Now what happens?
Oh, that's
now. Nobody ever looks at that. Nobody, because I mean, I don't know if you noticed or not. I know it's because I got on my George Strait cowboy hat. Nobody. Look, hold on. Full disclosure. Look, you know I'm black. I still got the tag on. I need everybody to know. I need everybody to know who it is. Some people's like, "Hey man, you gotta take the tag off." I'm like, if I take the tag off, they ain't gonna know that it belongs to the king of country. So anyway,
hat, by the way, exactly.
And so, but you know, in the black community, sometimes we greet each other like, you know, "What's up, my N-word?" or, you know, something to that effect.
Yeah.
And so if Shannon didn't let him know that he was going to call, you put Fox in a very bad position. Because what if he uses a racial slur like the N-word? What if he uses a homophobic slur? What if he uses anything derogatory towards anybody else? Because what I have learned over the last, I want to say 2.5, 3 years in this media market is that perception has changed. And now a lot of things that doesn't offend one person offends another. Listen, I know I'm not trying to go off topic right here, but I got to tell you this.
Please.
I was reading, I don't know if you've seen the video on Twitter where they're trying to get the little girl, it's a gender reveal party, and they're trying to get the little girl to pop the balloon. I don't know if you've seen this or not.
Is it the one where he swings the bat and it hits the ground?
No.
Okay.
So it's a mother and a father, and I guess it's their child. The little girl, she looked like she was about 5 years old. Well, they give her the dart. She tries to pop the balloon, but she couldn't. So the mom takes the dart and is about to pop it herself, and the little girl screams, right? The little girl screams to the top of her lungs. So as she turns and she gives the little girl the dart back, and as she's doing that, the balloon takes off, right? Right? The balloon just takes off. And so now and like I said, this is a gender reveal party. So the comments in that video, and I had to preface that to give you what the comments said. Well, why would they even be having a gender reveal party anyway? Because that unborn child doesn't know what it's going to identify as. That unborn child is having its rights taken away because they're out here claiming that it has to be a boy or it has to be a girl. But what if they don't identify like that? What if they identify a different way? And I'm saying to myself, I get it. I understand. I get it. Everybody's entitled to feel however they feel. But when did I get to a point in my life where a gender reveal party is being attacked? You see what I'm saying?
No, I definitely understand. And it's definitely something that if they identify something else, that's fine. They can do that later. In the moment, let's just enjoy something fun.
And yes, exactly. And so that's why I was so with that being said, Shannon Sharp put Julio Jones in a very bad position on what he can and what he can't say, because even if he says something that he thought that was private between those two and it gets out, now he's in trouble. Now he has to be canceled. And even, because if you go and you read the sports blogs and sports social media, you can see now he's being attacked because he says, "I'm out of there." Imagine if he would have used a homophobic slur.
Or like you said, the N-word, even you would have had African-American activists after him for that, even if it was something colloquial or they're, between friends. The other thing too, I thought was interesting was the Cowboys part of it. What a silly question, because the Cowboys aren't even looking for a receiver
at all. Period. Point blank. They're not looking for one. And they would have to give up so much just to get Julio that it's not even worth it. I listen, I'm a huge Julio Jones fan. But if they bring in Julio, now you're taking catches away from CeeDee Lamb. You're taking catches away from a developing Michael Gallup. Like they got the right core. I want to say this. Julio Jones is great, but the Dallas Cowboys do not need him.
Hey, I'd like to go ahead and put on the show, first of all, that I don't want to go out with Scarlett Johansson at all. I have a feeling she chews loudly, and I just want her to know I'm not interested.
Yeah, Sophia Vergara, just to let you know, I'm not interested at all. So, you can slide in my DMs and try, but just for the record, no.
Hands off. Before we go, like I said, we're a week out from when the episode drops, but we just came off a very disappointing Astros series. And I really feel like it was a trap game. I think you came off an emotional series with Oakland, and then you've got, obviously, by the time this drops, we will have played the Dodgers and the Padres. But just overall, what's your sense of this Astros team?
So here's the thing. Dusty Baker is in a bad position. He's in a bad position. And the reason why I say he's in a bad position is because he's caught right in the middle of something that there's nothing he can do about it. The Houston Astros offense is great. I mean, from 1 to 7, you got really, really good hitters, especially to the top of the order. At one point, they had the top 5 was batting over 300. Mm-hmm. And then you get down there. Tucker was starting to come along. Straw, he comes and goes, and McCormick comes and goes, and Maldi will come up and hit an occasional 2-run homer. So on that side, the offense isn't who he has to worry about. It's the pitching side, something that he can't control and he can't do anything about because he didn't cause Urquidy to get hurt.
Yeah,
he didn't cause Framber Valdez to get hurt. He didn't cause Jake Odorizzi to get hurt. He didn't cause Blake Taylor to get hurt. He didn't cause Enoli Paredes to get hurt. And so a lot of people, second guess and want to second guess him all the time when he's playing mix and match and mix and match and mix and match. And he even said it himself. He told me this specifically. He's like, I have a very young bullpen as well. And I have a very young bullpen and very young pitchers in general who last year they pitched in front of nobody. This year, he's like, that makes a difference. Now, they're pitching in front of fans. There is crowd noise. It's being booed. It's being, they're being booed. They're being hollered at. They're being cussed at. And so it's a whole different atmosphere. So it's almost like he's reshaping and remolding the minds on top of trying to get these guys to be productive. And then so you want them to be productive, but then you got to go and you look how many innings Stanek has thrown, but Dusty needs his arm. Look how many innings Abreu has thrown, or pitches, excuse me. Look how many pitches Abreu has thrown, but he needs his arm. And then Dusty tries to give him rest. But if he gives him rest here, then he has to pitch in a unusual circumstance that he probably wouldn't do if he had a full, healthy pitching staff, meaning starting pitchers and relief pitchers. And so they, when you have that, and that's what I noticed. What I noticed this last series against the Rangers, right? The last series that they played against the Rangers where they got swept. When the bats aren't producing, the Astros pitching staff isn't strong enough to sustain a one-run lead. They're not strong enough to sustain a tie game. They have to be blowing somebody out at this point of the season in order to get the victory. It's because you can't pitch Ryan Presley every time. Like you can't pitch him every time. And, and it's just like the one thing that I dislike is to hear Astros Twitter come on and play, post-game manager. Man, why didn't Dusty do this? Well, why didn't Dusty do that? And last week I had a conversation with a guy online. He's like, well, why didn't he put in Scrub? Scrub could have pitched. And then Dusty came out the next day and said Scrub was hurt. And I was like, that's what I try to tell people. We're not privy to the in-game information that goes on and why Dusty makes the decisions that he makes. And so I feel like the Astros are going to be just fine. Once they'll catch that groove that they just came out of. They'll catch that groove again once they can get, some type of health. But I think they got a brutal schedule coming up here pretty soon too, where they play, I think, 20 games in 20 days. So that's where you try to get them, some type of rest. You get them a little rest here and a little rest there, but that's a lot of baseball.
Well, and it's also again, some of it's already happened by the time this drops, but 2 against LA, 3 against San Diego, and 4 against Boston.
that's a tough gauntlet. And what I would tell Astros fans is, yeah, it's still May and going to be early June. And the team you're up against in the division, Oakland, they also have some of that stretch to go through. So things are going to work it out. They got to believe in their process and just keep playing.
Yeah, and I look at it like this too. Out of those 9 games, I know that LA is hot. They're a really good team. I know that. So I don't want to discount them, and I don't want to discount the Red Sox either. I know they're playing some very, very, very good baseball right now. But that Padres team scares me like no other. But they're on a 9-game winning streak right now. And, Tatis Jr., man, he is one of those guys. He's one of him and Yuli, to me, are two of the hardest outs in baseball.
Yeah.
And I mean, Yuli Gurriel, first baseman for the Astros. And I know you know that. I just wanted to say it for the
absolutely, yeah.
millions of viewers that'll be watching this. But Tatis Jr., he scares me to the point of you never know. He can hit for average. He can hit power. He can hit, home runs. He is just one of those guys. And the type of swagger that they have about them. And I want to say this before we go. I want people to notice something. The one thing that I like about the San Diego Padres is that, why Tatis Jr. is able to act that way? Because of Manny Machado. Manny Machado is the attitude for that whole team.
Yeah.
And Tatis Jr. couldn't act like that. In my opinion, I don't think he would act like that if he didn't know that Manny Machado had his back. That's one of the reasons why I don't want the Astros to allow Carlos Correa to get away. Because once he's gone, there's nobody that has the attitude. Carlos has the attitude where he just come be like, look, F you. I don't care what you say about me. You can say it. I mean, Lance McCullers Jr. has it, but he's a pitcher. So nobody's going to be, but a position player like that, like once he leaves, Bregman doesn't do talking like that.
No, everybody else is a quiet professional. You don't have anybody that's willing to go pick a fight.
Exactly. Unless you piss off Michael Brantley.
Yeah, well, I guess so. But listen, I don't want to pick a fight with you. He is Brian Barfield. He is Big Sarge Sportz. Follow him on Twitter. Thanks for jumping on, man. We'll have you back on in a couple of weeks and see how things are going.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please adjust your scorecards. We have a special guest in the lineup.
So we're excited on Let's Get to be joined by Corey Hawkins. He is a 15 Papa in the United States Army. Corey, first of all, how's it going, man?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing well. I want to do a nerd thing. So those are the newer, so those Army uniforms weren't even like in service when I was in. Like I had the old school BDUs. So I don't know.
We had the BDUs when I first came in 05. So I know I've had them before. I've had to shine boots and all that stuff too.
And now you don't have to shine your boots anymore?
No, we have brown boots now.
You know what? This Army's soft. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I digress.
You're not completely wrong.
Yeah, well, talk to me a little bit about you. Like, how did you end up deciding to enlist? And then why pick the MOS you picked?
Well, back in 05, I was kind of doing some college. I kind of got in a hard place where I didn't really know what I was doing with my life and my career. So a friend of mine was joining the military. So I was like, hey, let's go together. So me and my friend went together. But he's out now. I'm still in. I've been in 16 years now. And here I am ready to retire in a few years.
You see the finish line, right?
I do.
Right there.
Yeah, it's right there.
So explain to everybody what a 15 Papa is and why that MOS.
So why that MOS? This is not actually the MOS that I picked. I was trying to be EOD, explosive ordnance disposal, but I'm colorblind. So once they found out I'm colorblind, it took my job choices down to like 3. And so I just picked one. What I do is kind of like flight dispatch for Army aviation helicopters in the military.
So you actually has probably a good chance of getting an actual job in your actual field when you leave the military. Unlike I was a forward observer. There's not a whole lot of call for that outside of like crazy militias or something.
I do, but I also have had the opportunity to get my degree, which has nothing to do with my actual job in the military. So I can take either route when I get out. We'll see what happens. Or I can just sit on my butt and be lazy for the rest of my life, you know?
I kind of like that. You could become our correspondent and go from baseball park to baseball park. How about that?
Hey, we'll see what happens in 4 years.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about just sort of what baseball means to you as someone who serves and how, like when you've deployed and stuff,
how it helps make you feel close to home, just even getting to catch up with the games.
So typically, well, we do have internet. It's not great, so we can't stream games. So what I usually do is I just follow the games on like the MLB app or ESPN, because we can't actually watch live games. But it's a great distraction, just being able to keep up with your team, being able to keep up with division rivals, do some scoreboard watching and stuff. It's still a great pastime whether I'm home or away.
Yeah, that seems to be universally what we find out. And then, of course, my own experience back then.
Sure.
You are an Astros fan. Are you from the Houston area?
I am from Houston, Northwest Houston. Went to Cypress Creek High School.
Okay, cool. I went to St. Pius. You ever heard of it?
I have not.
Yeah, it's okay. No one else has either. Let's talk a bit about the Astros right now. You and I met on Twitter, as I do so many others. You seem to be one of the more reasonable and rational members of our fan base. Let's talk about, though, 2017. How over it are you as far as hearing about, like the stupid GIF responses, like that stupid home shopping network thing people share? People need to get over it by now, right?
Absolutely. I remember that November when everything kind of came out, I was in huge denial. I was one of the denialers, and I was like, there's no way this has happened. It's completely coincidental. And then it came out and I was like, oh man, it sucks. So I was kind of mad for a while. And now at this point, you're right. Just like you, I'm just completely over it. I try not to argue with those people anymore. I try not to even give them like actual facts and just let them do their thing, and just I'll do my thing.
Oh yeah, exactly. Let's talk about this year's squad though. It's been a weird season, and like I'll be honest, before our sort of pre-interview, you did point out that it's May, so there's nothing really to panic. What are some of the best parts of the team that's kind of surprised you so far this season?
I think having 5 guys hitting over 300 right now has really surprised me. And then, so I'm so used to 2019 squad, and we had a great bullpen. And then it's kind of diminished over the past couple of years. Like 2 years ago, our bullpen was elite. Like you get to the bullpen, it's over. It was a wrap. And now it's like you get the bullpen, it's like, man, this sucks. Hopefully they can hang on, or at least hopefully we build a good lead before we get to our bullpen.
Yeah, how many games have we gone into the late innings up 8-0, and then it's 8-4 at the end, and you're like,
exactly. No, I'm not comfortable with a 1 or 2 run lead going into the 6th or 7th inning. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's it's interesting, and it's everything, and it's bullpen choices. Do you think it's something that the Astros are going to be able to fix internally, or do you see something happening in July at the trade deadline?
So I don't know the number on top of my head, but we have so many guys down in AAA and on the IL right now that I feel like maybe we can get some guys back and get some arms, at least some long inning arms from the starting rotation now into the bullpen. Guys like Garcia, maybe, or I don't know who they're going to pick. I assume Garcia is going to go to the bullpen, but I'm getting Baez back. I think once we get those guys back, it'll be a little better, but I still think that maybe we look at the market for a reliever.
What have your thoughts been about the center field position this season? I know. Okay. What are your thoughts on the center field position?
Chaz believer right now. I love Chaz McCormick. The other day I saw, I know Straw's great and he's fast. He's kind of indecisive. I saw Dusty say the other day that Straw is actually is not. If you look at the metrics, Chaz actually has the best home plate to the first base sprint speed. So that's a bad excuse. I think he's a better defender. I think he's a better decision maker, and I think he's a better hitter too. So I don't know why there's even a debate at this point whether it should be Chaz or Straw.
It almost seems like at this point, anybody but Straw at least needs a shot to find out.
Sure.
And I'm not Mr. Bring Up Jose Siri, because I do believe if you're like his K rate scares me, but I think Chaz McCormick seems like he needs to start getting some at bats.
He definitely does. But why not bring up Siri to get some at bats also? We have the room. Maybe we could send a reliever down and bring Siri up, or even send, if you don't believe in McCormick, if Dusty doesn't like him, send him down, bring up Siri, get Siri some at bats. If you remember Kyle Tucker, when Kyle Tucker was one of the best hitters in the minors, he was not very good when he first came up to the big leagues. I think he was batting in the hundreds, not slugging very well, and then it took some time for him to start getting on a roll, and then look where he's at now. He's pretty good, I'd say.
We're recording this a few days before it drops, but we are still sort of feeling the sting of the sweep of the Rangers, and we don't really, obviously, we're not going to know. It's going to get real tough.
how do you react on a personal level when you see performances like what we saw that past weekend?
I try not to overreact. If you think about it, we lost that series to the Tigers, and then we won 6 of our next 7 series against teams like the Blue Jays, the Rays, the A's. I know we only took 1 game in the Yankee series, but that game was the Cole game. I mean, you have to look at those kind of games and just realize that it's not the end all be all. Like, if the season's not over, it's only May. There's plenty of time for us to get our feet back under us. And it's just 1 series. I know the Twitter GMs are having a field day last night and today, and I just look at that stuff and I laugh because it's still so early.
So early that it's silly. So as we wrap up, then let's tell us a little bit more about you. Like, where are you? Are you deployed now? Are you stationed? What's life like for you as you start to count down the years till retirement?
So right now I'm at Fort Polk, Louisiana, at JRTC, the Joint Readiness Training Complex.
Corey, I feel so bad for you.
I love my job here.
I was my first duty station and was so glad to deploy to Bosnia so I could get out of Louisiana for a while. Sorry.
Yeah,
so you're at JRTC. That's fun.
So I'm an OC. So people come here and train, and I watch them train, and we provide them some good training. And I just kind of use my expertise. I've been around for 16 years, so I pass that expertise on to units that are getting ready to deploy.
Yeah, for those of you that don't understand, JRTC and NTC out in California, incredibly important to our warfighting capabilities.
Absolutely.
Well, Corey, thanks for your service. Thanks for continuing to do it. And thanks for jumping on the show. And we'd love to have you back on later on in the season as we get a little further in and see what your take is on the ball team.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, James. Thanks for having me.
Show me the merch. The best from the pro shop.
So what we have here are members of the Lincoln Salt Dogs playing football on the concourse. James Christopher here with Andrew Nelson.
Hi, everybody.
Live-ish in person for our Show Me the Merch thing. We don't know if we're going to have a game yet, but we definitely had a pro shop open.
We've been told we're going to have a game.
We've been reassured that there'll be ball game. So we definitely hit up the pro shop. Let's start with what you got.
So I have the Cleburne RailRoaders Road Grays from 503 Sports. It's a real nice, slightly mesh jersey, just enough so it breathes, but it still looks solid. I love the script across horizontally. It's just a classic road gray look, and I'm a sucker for those, so I had to get that one.
I also got it, and I'm not a sucker for the road gray look. I don't know why it is but this one it feels very old-timey to me, which I think I dig. I also got their alternative with their Texas logo jersey on it. I kind of dig this logo. I mean, it's from a distance, it's simple.
Yeah.
Texans love Texas, and I think they really do a good job of selling that. I also got their white jersey, which feels like a combination of all of the things on the other jerseys. And then I got a sweet windbreaker. So we are looking good. We got a couple of great hats. You've been to way more American Association games than I have been. What's a little difference that you've noticed about the merch here compared to other places?
Man, well, it's all sharply designed. It ties in well. They have a good variety of it, and it's and they have a lot of on-field look stuff, which not everybody does. They've got 5950s. They've got 503 Sports fitteds. A lot of times you'll see a lot of like Zephyr and some of the other kind of mid-range hats, which are fine. I still like those. I have a lot of flex fits from them.
Yeah.
But for my money, you can't beat a fitted hat. And 5950s. Not to say I'm a snob, but I do love a 5950.
No, but when I see a 5950 come out, I think to myself, that's automatically a brand that plans to be here for a while and wants us to be taken seriously.
Right. They're investing in their merch, which, I mean, sometimes it's a little bit more, but it's a quality product too.
Yeah, and I know like our one of our co-members of the team, Andy Tom Chesson, any team that releases a 5950, he will immediately DM us and say, listen, they got a 5950 look.
Nice.
We're at the ballpark. Right now it's obviously dreary. First impressions, though, I don't know how much we'll get to profile the ballpark this episode. We'll probably have to come back this summer. First impressions, though, what you seen?
Oh, I love it. I mean, they really, it's nice and open. It's close, so anywhere you're at in this park, you should have a nice view of the game. And it captures that railroad theme really well. All of the arches on the covering over us are all all have arched buttresses, kind of like an old-timey railroad station. We're surrounded by train engines and railroad cars. I mean, you can't beat it for capturing the feel of the brand, setting an atmosphere for everybody that's coming out to a game.
Can't
what
beat
more
it.
could you ask for?
So, like I said, we are going to be back this summer. Usually we have a really highlight the park video, but I feel like we love these guys. They've been such good friends of the show, and I don't want to show them what it looks like in the middle of a pouring rain. So I know we're coming back this summer, and Andrew and I, we're going to be together like in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Where are we meeting up next?
Waterloo's next, right?
Is Waterloo next, or is Madison next? So we're excited to welcome back to the show Martie Cordaro with, first of all, Martie, your new haircut looks great. You cut the locks off, huh?
Yeah, I did. You know, when COVID started, obviously a lot of us stopped shaving. A lot of us, and mainly me, just let our hair go. And the longer it went, I kept telling people, they kept asking, when am I gonna get my hair cut? I said, I will cut it when we start baseball. So as part of that, our promotions and community team said, hey, well, let's create a little bit of engagement for our Chasers charities and awareness for our Chasers charities. And we raise money and we help fix up and repair softball and baseball Little League fields here in the area. And we partnered with the Kansas City Royals on some projects as well. So it was a neat opportunity. You know, I thought about raising money, but you know, it's a tough time for a lot of people still. So we just went for the awareness piece, and it was the second most viewed when you look at the different marketing and promotions components during the month of April leading into May. It was the second most engaged promotion, if you will, that we had. So, you know, I guess the president's hair did matter a little bit.
And that's been a theme through our country for the last 4 years, I think. Whether the president...
Oh, that's funny. I didn't even know I threw you that softball there, but yes, it was.
And for the record, you have much better hair than the last. You know, let's talk a little bit though. We are a month in. How did it go? I mean, did it just feel good to be back? And how are things just sort of running now like clockwork?
I wouldn't call it clockwork. You know, we had so many new faces, so many new people. You know, now after 2 series in, as we're about to start our third tomorrow, as Iowa Cubs come to town for the first time since 2019. And that's one of the only clubs that really sells tickets for us in Omaha. The Memphis Redbirds are another, but they don't come here this year due to the regional scheduling of the new international league. So, you know, we're getting there, Jim. We're getting there. Each day gets a little bit easier. Everybody understands their roles and, you know, what they are to do. And, you know, a couple more 6-gamers, I think we'll be in a really good spot.
Are you liking the 6-game chunks like they're doing it, or?
No, I don't like them at all. You know, there's a baseball component to it. Seeing one of the starting pitchers twice. There's an on-field discipline and officials perspective to it. You have each umpire behind the plate twice in a series now. And there have been some challenges with that. But 6 games to me, and whether it's personal or whether it's a business case, it's too early to really be able to say from a business case perspective. But personal, you know, 3 games, 4 games, I can see 5 games, but I'm more in line with 3 or 4 game series.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I also wonder too, if you start to have a scarcity issue, if it seems like it's what's happening all the time, does it become harder to promote a game if, well, you're here for the same same team 6 times in a row, I'll just go see them tomorrow. And maybe they don't. I mean, it seems like that's part of it to me, at least.
Well, from a baseball specific, not promotional specific, you're exactly right. And then when you pile on the fact that we play St. Paul and Iowa 60 of our 120 games this year, you know, that yes. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Let's talk COVID. It seems like it's different everywhere. Where are you guys sitting as far as restrictions now? Are there still any masks, no mask capacity levels, all that kind of stuff?
Well, as we head into June, we had already made an announcement what we were doing with June in advance of MLB rolling back 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we'll be north of 65% with general admission seating sections for the month of June. That means we could go 70, 75, 80, 85 whatever we feel comfortable with. We are going to be making a change for July 1. We haven't made that announcement yet, but we're going to back to selling specific seats in July, and that announcement will be coming any day now. We're excited. We're excited about that.
Yeah, I'm to me, it feels like it's going to get more normal quicker than even I had thought. I kind of thought we'd still be sort of riding this wave all the way through September.
Yeah, we do get questions on, are you going too quick? My counter to that is, most sports teams immediately flipped the switch when they were allowed to do that. We've taken a little bit slower pace on it. Some of that was demand of groups and, not needing total capacity quite yet. We do need it in June. We need it in July, August, so on and so forth. But just like last year, we all quickly adjusted. If for some reason there is another wave, another spike, all the clubs are responsible enough and are great community members enough that we'll make a switch. We'll do a pullback. But if you don't plan for the ramp up, you can't get there. We've already proven we can pull back. So that's kind of where we are right now. And I wouldn't even say cautiously optimistic. I'm just optimistic that things are continuing to grow, and I'm more aligned with you in thinking it's a little earlier than I had anticipated it would happen, but I'm not complaining.
I'm not either. We were at we went to the Skeeters' first game, and I think that they had announced increased capacity the day before, and so it just felt more normal to see actual people there. I didn't realize how much I needed it. You talked about the Iowa Cubs coming to town. I'm going to be at an Iowa Cubs game. What is it about the Cubs that makes them, like you said they were a big draw for you guys? Is it just proximity, or is it just that brand in that region?
It's more Chicago, actually. It's more Midwest. There are a lot of Cub fans here, just behind the Royals for most popular MLB club here in the metro area. Then you have the Cardinals after that. And then it's a mix between White Sox, Twins, a little bit Rockies, a little bit Brewers, even some Dodgers here. But yeah, so you get Royals, Cubs, Cardinals. Those are the teams that sell tickets from a baseball perspective for AAA Omaha.
So what can we look forward to this month? I was looking through the promo schedule. You guys have a lot of stuff that you don't see everywhere. I love the fact that live music seems to be a regular part of your game day experience. How important is that, just to get people out listening to live music?
Well, right now it's probably more important than ever. There wasn't a lot of live music if any for much of 2020, and we have had bands and brews for a number of years prior to our Saturday night games. That was like the first or last Saturday. I can't remember exactly what it was. Now we're doing every Saturday night. Matter of fact, yours truly's new band called Strange Pleasures. Catch us on Facebook. Is no shame in my plugs here.
No shame at all.
We're playing on Saturday the 5th, so you're going to miss us by a night, unfortunately. And then so we do live bands on Saturdays with dollar beers during that time from 6 to 7. It's awesome promotion. And then on Friday nights, we primarily do more singer-songwriter type things, solo artists, maybe duos. And we do that up near the front entryway of the ballpark, which you will see this coming up Friday night.
Yeah, I think it's such a, I don't know if it's, I love the idea that you have it, but you've advertised it. Like it is something that I think people come out, and whether you even like the music that's playing, you're just in a better mood if you're hearing live music playing.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and it adds to the ambiance, adds to the atmosphere. One of my old bosses, Alan Stein, former team president, even for our preseason season ticket holder events and different things like that, he would always demand that we had a Dixieland band and playing with the old top hats and playing different music and kind of big band type things. And so yes, music and baseball go way back.
I wanted to ask you a logistical question. At the end of June, you guys have, it looks like a pretty big road trip for the Chasers, which I know you guys, what are you going to do in that time? Is that just time to reaffirm processes? Is it time to, I know you have another appearance on this show during that time, but what are you going to use in that big gap of time?
It's a great question. I'm sitting here looking at the schedule myself, and we just finished before this, we're in the middle of a 12 gamer now. And before this 12 gamer, at home, we had a 12 gamer on the road. That was caused by the state high school baseball tournament that we host here in Nebraska. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure why for the next 2-week gap. I guess we'd have to ask the scheduling gods what happened, but um, we'll have a soccer game in there. I'm sure we'll have a number of special events. I think there's actually 2 or 3 soccer matches in that time frame as I look at the schedule. So we'll be busy. I'll still be working, and we will be getting ready for the next Chasers series that will start on July 6th. And then for our big annual Independence fireworks celebration, we have moved that from that July 3rd or 4th, because each minor league team used to be guaranteed one of those 2 dates. This year, our big date is July 10th because we did not get the 3rd or the 4th. We will actually be in St. Paul for that.
In St. Paul. You could do Bastille Day, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like that's just one of the irritating things I saw when I saw the schedule. You're right. You used to get the 4th of July or the 3rd of July, and now that doesn't happen. And I'm sure the people way upstairs, don't necessarily understand how important that is to you guys.
Well, I don't know that I would say that. I think I would have agreed with that 6 months ago. There has been really good dialogue over the last month or so regarding scheduling. Nothing is set in stone for the 6 games. Nothing's set in stone for the same off day. In the AAA West, it's obviously on the Wednesday. AAA East, that off day's on the Monday. So there's a lot of conversation going on. So will we all be guaranteed the 3rd or 4th next year? I don't know. I'm not privy to that information just yet, but we're optimistic that we will be at some point in time. And I think a lot of that depends on, are we going to do 6-game series, or are we open to a mix, versus what we've done in 2021?
I certainly hope it's a mix. I wanted to talk a little bit about your double duty, though, as I'm kind of getting into soccer now. We have a soccer team in Austin now, the Austin FC. How hard is it for you, or is it hard to kind of wear both hats and do both things? Or is it sort of like, crop rotation, where one thing keeps you fresh when you're not thinking about it, or necessarily like that?
Yes to all of it. Sometimes, there is a little bit of, push-pull from the duties. But one thing that has been good for me, it's reaffirmed some of my beliefs in minor league baseball, because I've learned so many new things with professional soccer now. And I've been able to kind of interchange the two, and not everything transfers. Not everything is the same. But there are a number of things that do cross over and have crossed over, and playing in the same building and having a large number of staff that are employees of both has been it's been eye-opening. It's been educational. It absolutely has. But Coach Jay Mims has a great product on the field. Our club continues to be at the top of the league. We just recently were on ESPN2 on Sunday, May 16th. It was the first nationally televised game in league history. We ended up tying. We were in first place before the game. We were in first place after the game. Greenville's kind of become our chief rival, as well as maybe North Texas and then Madison. But no, it's a great jump into it. And for those that aren't familiar, it's USL. We're League One. It's somewhat double A soccer, if you will. That's the baseball guy talking, not the soccer guy talking. Right. And then championship, which is a level above us, is not equal to AAA, but it's similar to AAA baseball.
Yeah, we'll put links up for all of that stuff so people can go find you. Last question. We are gonna be up there. It's a trip in the making. I can't believe we're gonna meet in person. I don't know if the universe can handle that. But we're excited, man. And I just, I want to thank you for welcoming us up in advance and being such a big part of our show. You really have made the show, in our opinion.
Well, that's too kind. What I do and what we have done probably makes the show more than me. But, if I can be a good or great representative of minor league baseball and, non-major league sports, that's probably the best way to say it. Then I'll continue to wave that banner, fly that flag, raise that torch, whatever it might be. And, my opinions aren't always popular. They're not always well received. But, the one thing that I want to make sure of is, those of us that are on the operator side, those of us that are in the communities that continue to grow the sport of baseball, that continue to grow the sport of soccer, and whatever other sport you're in, if you're in hockey or if you work in the G League and you're helping to grow NBA and basketball, we all need to continue to be true to what we do in our communities, within our industry. not necessarily within our industry with people that, we report to. And I think that's the most important thing that minor league baseball operators, the 120 that are operating now, can continue to do, is be true to your community and who you are first. And it's not always going to be easy. We're in a new world, we're in a new model, but it's not all negative. It's not all negative. We need to continue to be positive as well, because there are a lot of great things happening, a lot of great promotions, a lot of great marketing. And above all, Jim, we're playing baseball again in our facilities.
Who's on first? The Let's Get To Local 9, brought to you by Zoomer Sport.
We're super excited to be welcomed by Kat Foster, who is the general manager of the Greenville Flyboys. We, of course, met you when you were still with the Greenville Red. So, Kat, how has everything been in the big transition?
It was a fun process, definitely a stressful one, for sure. But it has been good. It's been, trying to come up with the identity and doing all of that. That was very, it was a learning experience. It was nice to learn about Greenville, the history of it, and go through that process. And one thing that was really important to all the teams when this whole thing started was finding something that the communities could really take ownership of, when it came to like the names and give it that really good hometown feel. So it was a good process. It was at times, obviously, like most things like this, very stressful. But it was a good learning experience. And I mean, we're so excited to, get everything underway. It almost seems surreal at this point because, this time last year, these conversations weren't even happening. So it's so good to be back. And the process was good, and it's all led up to this. So
we rated you guys as the number one of our top 3 rebrands, right? So we thought you guys were the best.
Oh, nice.
We love the Johnson City Doughboys, and we love what the Cleburne RailRoaders did. But let's talk about that Flyboys look. It's classic. It's traditional. You didn't go weird, and weird can be fun, but it's really a brand that I think can last and last
right.
and last. A little bit about just how it does tie into the history of the community.
Yeah, and that's that's something that my boss and I are both really like history. When I initially went to school, I was a history major, so really fascinated with the World War II era. He even has like old helmets in his office from World War II, like he's big into that. So we went through several other names, something to try to incorporate the area. Like we wanted to do the big rigs because it's a big trucking area. Okay. That obviously didn't work. And then the other one that we were really trying to go for was the Highlanders because of who initially settled the area. That one didn't work either. And so we actually came up with the Flyboys early on, and then we revisited it later, and then started coming, everything started conceptualizing into, it's big into airplanes and this and that. And then what really ended up tying it together was there's a walking trail that goes right behind the field. And my husband and I were actually on that one day. And if you follow it, it comes up to the Tusculum University softball field is on the hill behind us. And then there's this giant road that's back there. Couldn't figure that out for the longest time. And he ends up saying, goes, almost looks like an airstrip. That's really weird. It actually was. So it's the old airfield goes through. It's not on our field, was part of the airfield. It's not the actual airstrip or where the planes would land or anything. That's actually the softball field behind us. What we heard was it actually went right through where the second base is right now. So we were just part of that, which it turned into everything. And then, with all the patriotism that's in the area that you have from here, like tying the two things together, we're excited. Our on-field jerseys, our home jerseys, are actually cream colored. They're the only ones that are like that. And that's like another nod to, things from that era had that sepia kind of color tone feel. So we wanted to do, the red, white, and, it's weird because I say it's red, white, and blue, but it's technically like a red, white, and green color. But it's very, our goal was to be very patriotic, and it had a lot of conversations in the community because not a lot of people knew that about the airfield. But we had a long time season ticket holder. She actually grew up here. She came in the other day and she said, yeah, I used to ride my bike along the airstrip and pick blackberries. And so she, she was like, that's awesome. I get it. And it's stuff like that where, if you're not from here, it's like me, it's a learning experience. But then if you're from here and you understand that, you're like, actually, that's really cool. So, she got it, and she said she was like the old Greene County Airport used to be over there. I do think she called it another name, and I don't remember. There's way too much that's happened in the last couple of weeks. But it was exciting to, have a girl that, she grew up here, and she's now a season ticket holder, and her parents used to come here. And she, to hear that story from her, she goes, yeah, like I said, she goes, I rode my bike every summer, like every day I'd go over there and like I'd pick blackberries and watch the planes. And so yeah, so it was really, that was one of my favorite stories that I've heard from someone around here that, grew up here. So it was it was great to have that tie into the community and be able to learn a lot of the history. And it's something, like you said, we're hoping that it, no matter what, it's able to withstand because like you said, fun names, like, we were talking yesterday, it's like some of our, the names that we love, like the Trash Pandas, like that's just, it's fun, like, yeah. And I can't look at a raccoon the same anymore either. I'm just like, it's a trash panda. And so just some stuff like that where, doing the fun names and things like that. And this was and then when we were working on the Doughboys, I'm like, do we want all these teams with the boys on the end, but one thing, we are going to work on is hopefully in the month of July, we're going to do something called, because there were actually female pilots also in World War II, and they were called Fly Girls. So we are hoping to, do something this year. Certainly not if we can't get, if things don't pan out, just between everyone's, got so much going on, but we're hoping to do something like that this year. And if not, if we don't get to it this year, then we'll definitely do it next year. But it's got a lot of, able to tie into a lot of things. And, I know everybody here, we respect military and stuff like that. And so this is just kind of, it was a great way for us to be able to incorporate all of those things.
I do love the look, and I love that it's based on that old, like, the old Army Air Corps logo with the star in the center. You'd mentioned the jerseys, and the question that my wife always hates that I ask, will they be for sale, like, for the public?
We that is a question that we actually asked the other day, because USA Baseball, these are going to be, they used to be different. They were Wilson jerseys and things like that. So USA Baseball actually works almost exclusively, with Nike. So they are going to be really nice Nike jerseys. We did ask what the policy is going to be as far as, being able to sell replica jerseys. And I got a phone call this morning that is permissions for that are currently in the works. So we're hoping to get them sooner rather than later, but anybody who's been trying to order almost anything will tell you that it's going to be a little bit of a delayed process probably, but it's something that, we like to have in the store and have available. So fingers crossed that we get those permissions sooner rather than later.
Mine are definitely crossed. As we wrap up, it is our Memorial Day episode, but it's also going to be your opening week. You'll have about 5 or 6 games, I guess, or 4 games and an off day on the road. But just what are you most excited about getting back to the ballpark? What's the one thing that you yourself on a personal level might tug at the old heartstrings?
We have the NJCAA, the Junior College World Series starts here tomorrow, and they're out there practicing today. And the feeling, like, I went to a Smokies game a few weeks ago, and It's weird, but my take on all of it, like in 2020, it was a weird summer, and I'm not used to having summers to myself. So last year I was like, girl could get used to this, like, all right, this is what the other half does during the summer. And it was nice. And then it's, yesterday, a day that, from I got here at, 8:00 and left at 10. And it's tiring. And then I'm getting here today and they're practicing and I'm in the concession stand. I told my interns, we're talking about hot dogs and buns and how do you know how to do this? And what do you do with this? And I was I sat there and I started laughing and they were like, what? And I was like, I talk about this all day. I'm it's weird. I'm I'd never pictured, that this is, this would be my thing. And then it's, your mind goes into gear of, and dusting off the, everything got rusty in 2020.
Yeah.
Everything, I'm sitting here and it's oh, I need to go to the bank. And I'm I call our accountant. I'm hey, am I submitting invoices correctly? They just go in an envelope and go. It's nothing big, but it's all this stuff is coming back. And then all of a sudden today they were out there practicing and Tusculum University did have their season, but they unfortunately weren't allowed to have any fans. So it was different, but now we're here and we're prepping for the World Series. And it's all the feeling of it. We did a practice tarp pull today and some of my staff has never done one. And they were and one of them was running around and then she's I'm anxious, I'm excited. And I'm why? And she's what? And I was it's literally, you just put in a big blanket. You're just laying a big blanket that's kind of heavy. You'll be fine. And getting out there and doing that, I tell you what, just it gives me a whole new, in a weird way, appreciation for what I am privileged enough to do every day. And it's such a good feeling of, going to the Smoky Stadium and the fans they're back in it, man. They're just back in it. And It was when everything was going on, everybody was are we ever going to see normal again and all that stuff. And it's it's one of those things you hoped for. And then now that it's happening, because we are lucky enough, we get to operate at capacity and, do all these things. And it's the World Series. And then we have a concert here on the 4th. And it's with all due respect to those things, I'm get out of my way, and for me, it's, being all of that combined, there's so many facets to it, but, being my first, I finally get to, I've wanted to be a general manager for a long time, and 2020 threw a giant wrench in those plans, but being able to do all of this now, it's just so many things go into the feelings of it. It's seeing baseball, saying baseball on Memorial Day and then baseball and just, it's America all at once. And it's a brand new feeling and appreciation for, even though my days might be super long, it's a heck of a lot better than what a lot of people I feel get to do. And I'm excited to get it underway. I'm excited to get I told my boss, I was I'm excited to get going. He's why? I was I want to get I want to mess up and be done with it. And just get on my way. Not that I'm not confident in myself, right, but it's going to be some, some changes and some things. It's going to be a huge learning curve, but it's so just hard to find a word to describe when they're out there practicing today, realizing that this is going to be the soon, on June 8th is opening day, and they're going to be out there taking BP and music's going to be blasting and we're going to be having fan fest and fireworks, and it's just going to be the best day. And so we're really looking forward to seeing, to getting the season going and just having some baseball back.
Well, first of all, we can tell how excited you are. You're making us more excited. We're going to be out to see you in person in mid to late July, but she is Kat Foster, the GM of the newly named Greenville Flyboys. Congrats on the brand, and just congrats to you guys and for the 2021 season. We can't wait to follow.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Holler and a Swaller, a chug of ballpark brew, presented by the Hitter Sports.
We're coming to you from the Depot, the home of the Cleburne RailRoaders, for Holler and a Swaller, presented by the Hitter Sports. Make sure you're following him at the Hitter Sports. He's like a Scottish lord or something. It's awesome. But I'm here with Andrew Nelson. We've been enjoying some Cleburne RailRoaders baseball. Halfway through, we're knotted at 3, so we're going to wrap this up and go watch some baseball. Overall, though, what has the experience been like for you?
Oh man, it's a great experience. The crowd here is amazing. I mean, park is, I don't know, maybe a third or a quarter full, but you wouldn't know it from the crowd excitement and noise that you were hearing. And it's an exciting game. They've got a great pitching staff. Their pitcher's doing well.
We've seen guys throwing in the 90s, which for this level of baseball isn't common at all. And a hell of a play at second base.
Oh yeah, the fielding's impressive.
Yeah,
seen a couple of good home runs. It's been a good experience.
Good experience. One thing I want to point out real quick is, in like I said earlier, we'll be back in the summertime to give you a better view of the park. But we're in a new club area which didn't exist last year, and some of the art on the wall. And again, you'll get a better look of it in a few weeks. But by Will Johnson, and it's all baseball. Art, original art, and I love that the text is sort of factoids and stats about the players. And so we've got Nolan Ryan back there. Of course, my guy Biggio over there in the corner. So yeah, it's just everything about this thing is set up perfect for the fan experience.
Oh yeah.
So we have a couple of beers. First of all, what do you got going on here?
I have a Karbach Hopadillo IPA. It says Cuidado on it.
I don't even know
what that means.
Very hoppy. You know what that means?
Caution or warning.
Is that what cuidado means? We're asking the camera. We're efforting that note.
En Espanol.
En Espanol.
Sí.
And I've got a new one. It's the Cold Fort Worth beer. It's the American light lager from Cowtown Brewing. Big night. The University of Texas women's tennis team has won the national championship, and so with a Longhorn on the front of the can, all I got to say is hook 'em horns. The eyes of Texas are upon you. And hey, man, a great night so far. Here's to some more good baseball.
Prost.
Holler and a Swaller, baby.
Go, Go Astros, a focus on H-Town hardball.
And so we're excited to be back with Brian Arbor on Go Go Astros. I want to start, Brian, with the question that maybe many people have tried to figure out. Why is Tyler Bauer the way he is?
I don't know. I don't have a good explanation for that. I'm not sure anyone does. I mean,
did you see the tweet that he retweeted from his agent? Like, now he's got this agent, and it's just, well, I would have expected more out of the Astros, as if they don't understand it's a 162 game season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tyler Bauer has a really weird and odd personality, and that's particularly sort of meaningful in the group setting where it is. I think it works for him in the long term because that's allowed him to figure out, hey, the normal way of doing stuff isn't going to work for me. I need to do all this research, and I need to do all this different type of training and different type of throwing that works for him. So I think this is part of why he's not changing, right? Is it's working for him. He's got this massive contract because he's, he's succeeding, and he's in some ways less physically gifted than, the obvious contrast with Tyler Bauer is always Garrett Cole. They both went to UCLA at the same time. They didn't get along with each other very well at UCLA. Cole was drafted first in the draft. Bauer was drafted third. But Cole's always been someone who is just much more physically gifted, and therefore he's in some ways had life easier as a baseball player. Bigger, stronger, able to throw the ball harder. Bauer's had to sort of both figure and work his way into being.
And you do raise an interesting point about him. He's also not wrong all the time, right? Like, I think he says a lot of great things about how Major League Baseball is failing its fans and failing the way it interacts with fans and the way the game is available to him. But he's also, I likened him on Twitter to the Barracks lawyer who always knows a little bit more, is always smarter than everyone else. And like the childish thing where he wore up with the taped on his chest that says, this is not someone else's logo. And he's like a petulant child sometimes.
He's very much not interested in going along to get along. And particularly in baseball, And, I can see why that, would fit too in, a group organization like the military or baseball. That particularly stands out. And there are other professions where, just be, hey, do your own thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But it particularly stands out in baseball. It particularly stands out in a clubhouse where they're supposed to, where everyone kind of needs to get along just so things work smoothly. And, he's also a very talented player who's on his fourth team, and no one's been really, thank you for being here. We don't mind too much that you've gone.
Right.
So it's a very sort of distinctive. He is a very distinct personality, I think, in general, but a very particular personality for baseball.
It was a weird series with the Dodgers, and I want to talk a little bit about it. But before things first, I want to talk about what your blood pressure did as all of the tweets of all of the injuries seemed to come at one time. Brantley is sore. I do understand playing on turf is different. I'm not necessarily going to push the panic button on him, but just overall, where were you sitting when we saw all this news come through?
I mean, it's most of the Astros injuries right now seem to be of relatively small, that I don't think that they're going to be on things. It's notable they didn't put Brantley on the IL. It's always one thing I look for in these injuries, because that tells you that they think he'll be back, I presume, tonight and in the lineup, and that they give him essentially 4 or 5 days off. And, probably means Dusty's got to look to get him more days off on a regular basis and sort of put him up the priority list on who gets a day off. Particularly because they'll play more games up in Arlington on the turf there.
Yeah.
With Hollers, all the indications are that it's just a small thing. It may just be them trying to take advantage of a moment here to sort of reduce his innings loads over the season. And so I don't think that's a big deal, but it's certainly something I'm sort of looking for with a great deal of anxiety as I look for a report from Dusty Baker, James Click over this weekend until Lance gets activated. But the good news is Framber Valdez is going to be activated today, and he's starting tonight. Jake Odorizzi is going to be activated tomorrow and will be starting tomorrow. And we one of these we've talked about, you and I have talked about here, is the bullpen. Well, you get to move Christian Javier to the bullpen, and he could be a multi-inning weapon. Starter goes 5 or 6. You could put Javier in to finish the game out. Then you could have him go a trip through the lineup and have a lot more confidence with him doing that than you would of any other reliever for that long a period, and maybe your second best reliever now.
Let's talk about Luis Garcia real quick. I felt like that was a real step forward for him. We've seen that every season, all year, where he's lights out for 3 or 4 innings and then the cliff, and he usually falls off the cliff. I feel like the other day he battled through, and really, I think maybe we're going to get the glimpse of what we all think we're going to see out of him.
It was an exceedingly encouraging start for a couple of reasons. One, it's a very tough lineup. It's a tough lineup of people who are willing to take pitches and fight batters off. So he was able to get through that with a relative economy of pitches. One of the problems for Luis Garcia is he's not very efficient in his pitches. He doesn't throw enough. He just doesn't throw enough strikes, and therefore he gets long at bats and high pitch counts that gets him out of the game relatively early. So one, particularly in the context of the lineup he was going up against, some of the veteran hitters the Dodgers have who are well known for taking walks and taking pitches. Justin Turner would come to mind. He did, I think, really great in that context. And the development of Luis Garcia and Christian Javier have been the 2 best things about sort of the Astros, as you sort of look not only to this year, but into the near future, that you develop 2 major league pitchers who are, people are going to be able to pitch a lot of innings for you and high quality innings for you this year and in the future.
It does feel sort of comforting knowing that you look into 2022, your first 4 spots in the rotation are set. And I've seen talk of maybe re-signing JV at a smaller deal to sort of be and I'm all about that. It does feel like there's some stability coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that I've been paying attention to for several years that they're going to have. They're going to be able to develop pitchers. They're going to be developing rotation. And, you feel confident in that. moving forward. They've also signed Lance McCullers to 5 years after this, and it's someone who's going to be an anchor to the rotation moving forward. And so if he occasionally has to take 10 days off to keep everything together, I'm okay with that. I'm still going to be anxious about it.
Well, how much too, before we move to a different topic, how much though is that just recognizing that we've essentially already played all of last season, and so there is some probably still some wind to be built up, if you to use a running parlance?
Yeah, I mean, all of these guys, I mean, there was tons of talk of that this off season of how people would handle the pitching stepping up from a 60-game season, from essentially 40% of a season to a full season, and how many pitchers, particularly young pitchers, would be able to ramp up from having going. I think Framber went 72 innings last year in the regular season, and another handful in the playoffs to potentially 160 to 200 innings. What's been interesting this year in sort of the broad scope of baseball is the injuries have really piled up among the position players, which wasn't what we were looking at in the off season. And one thing for the Astros is they've been exceedingly good at having their position players, yes indeed, avoid the injured list.
So I want to talk about something a little bit off the field a little. I don't know how you handled it, but when we first learned about the trash bagging scheme at the end of 19, the punishment was handed out in 20. I got the sense from Crane's press conference that there had been evidence provided by the Astros to the league and that there would be more punishments. And we all know that none of that happened. And it felt like a building on situation where Astros fans became more and more isolated. Other fans became more and more emboldened because it was clear their teams would not be punished, despite indications that even the Dodgers stole signs as late as 2018. We all know how outside of The Athletic, the story was never reported with nuance of, yes, this is about everyone. I think we have to appreciate the fact that The Athletic, for as much as they broke the story, really was very even-handed with how they did it. How much of that has led to bar fights in Houston with Dodgers fans, the ridiculous marching down the streets, flipping off the city of Houston, and of course, the big fight in Minute Maid Park? How much of that really is due to how MLB has handled this from the beginning?
I mean, MLB is in a tough position here because one guy broke. So there's a code in the locker room. You're not supposed to tell this stuff. And that's, has good things. And in this case, it's a bad thing, right? Because things that are going on that shouldn't be going on are not getting reported, are not sort of getting out there. And so one guy broke the code, writing the story to The Athletic, to Evan Drellick and Ken Rosenthal, which is, and then that allowed the commissioner to, offer to Astros players, we won't punish you if you come clean and tell us what you did. And that's to my understanding, that's what they did. If you read Manfred's report, it's pretty detailed, though it's pretty detailed on what happened. It's why we know it's a banging scheme and we know the specific things. We know from Tony Adams' really great research who used the, he knows when the bangs happen, and therefore we know who used it and who didn't. At the same time, what sort of happened in the public perception is this is an Astros thing. And as you say, if you read the original story, it is, hey, this is a broader thing, and here's the one piece of evidence we have that this broader thing is going on. And there'd been lots of smoke about that story in lots of different ways, including the fire of the Apple Watch story back in 2017. But because of that code, no one else has come out and told us what's been going on with other teams. Did other teams do the same thing as the Astros? I don't think so, but I can't say that for certain. Did other teams use lots of nefarious means to try to steal signs? Yeah, I feel relatively confident in saying that. Did other teams use traditional methods, like just having the guy on second base relay the sign? Absolutely, right? We can say that.
Yeah.
That's happened. But, sort of you highlight this question, right? All of that has come down on this is what the Astros have done. And in fact, it's gone beyond that, right? Because while we have no evidence, while there's this buzzer rumor based on some dude on the internet, some dude on Twitter, which is often not the most reliable source.
Often not, yeah.
tons of people believe that. And, obviously the particular venom with which Yankee fans were booing and wishing happy birthday to Jose Altuve comes directly out of that rumor. How to deal with that, though, is a real, how do you get rumors to go away is a problem that has vexed every single junior high school student. And from our learning of that, right, to like the more serious, the broadly sort of serious things about like, why do all these people believe the election was stolen? It's really hard to put these genies back in the bottle. So
I would counter that with this question, though. MLB can actually fix it. They can actually. I think there's this part of MLB that has enjoyed the traction the sport has received publicly. I think that they have not gone through and corrected any of their they've not corrected the record when they could have corrected the record, even with something as general as, and instead, I think they've enjoyed this sort of WWE fandom that has started growing out of this that culminated with some guy getting the crap beat up. And I think that dude in Houston threw the first punch, the Astros fan, and we should say that out here. I think the story has changed because either way, you're fighting at a baseball game and it's stupid. But anyway, I'll let you respond.
I want to say something sort of broader about MLB. One of the things that always sort of just I was dumbfounded by Bud Selig is his massive interest in finding out exactly what happened with steroids and sort of fueling sports writers and some set of the public's anger over steroids rather than just sort of, finding strategies to make it go away. He provided more attention to it rather than less. If I'm Ron Manfred, I don't want a full and detailed investigation on who's stealing signs and how often this is happening, because I don't think that's good publicity for the game itself. Now, that has particularly negative aspects for the team you and I cheer for, and our fandom and our relationship with other fans, that we cheer for the villains. Is our team a worse set of villains than other teams? Maybe. Is our team, doing stuff that other teams are, doing something completely different than other teams? Probably not. It may be a difference of degree, but not of kind. And so in some ways we got to live with that. And that is frustrating in so many ways, right? Because one thing Astros fans know better than any other fan base on this story is we know the context to this story. We are more likely to have paid attention to the details. Good, people who paid attention, like you and me, can tell you a lot more of the details, the context of the story, what happened and what didn't. And I go talk to my friends who are Yankee fans, and it's, the Astros cheated Altuve as a bum. Well, I know Altuve didn't cheat it because I have looked at the data.
Yeah,
the data is publicly available, but one reason we want data to be publicly available is that we believe that sunlight's a good disinfectant. It gets us to the truth. That hasn't happened in this case. And there's some ways where I don't know how to fix it other than we just live with this until Altuve gets into Cooperstown.
It does seem, I think you made a comparison earlier, and we'll move to something else after this, but it does seem like an interesting microcosm to our political reality of we really are going to believe and only listen to the information that really backs up what we already think. When I hear a team say don't open a letter because it will cause severe reputational injury, maybe I don't harass the Astros fans so much knowing that my time might come. That's the thing that bugs me is everybody says it's everyone. It seems like I would be a little bit more magnanimous in case I'm the one caught in the crossfire later, but that's just how I do business. I don't know.
That sort of sense of, hey, don't do this because it might be you later. Yeah, people don't do that as much as they should.
Not as much as they
should.
But
for the grace of God goes my team is, not a sentiment in much in baseball or in politics.
So it's our Memorial Day episode, and this is where we're all supposed to take the temperature of our team. And a couple of things have happened Obviously, inconsistent play from the Astros, although we saw a lot of it at the last game of the Dodgers. This episode will drop after the Padres series, so we don't know where we'll end up, but it's a gauntlet, no matter how you've cut it. However, Oakland has also equally struggled, and the Astros, as we record this, sit 2 games back. It seems like the Astros really actually might make a really good push after this next particularly. I don't believe the Boston Red Sox are as good as their record, but it's particularly this Padres team, which might be the best team in baseball. It does seem like they might be ripe to really go on a run.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that's played a little below, that's record's been below its Pythagorean, its run differential record, and you would expect that to even out. The A's are clearly above their expected record, and you would expect over the long sweep of time for that to even out. One thing we can certainly say is that the AL West has separated itself into 2 teams that are really contenders for the title, the Astros and the A's, and 3 teams that would really have to turn things around for anything to happen. So there's clear sort of separation. There's 1 team you've got to worry about and go after. I guess the good news for the Astros is they can beat the A's. And it actually sort of speaks to something. The Astros have done very well against the good teams. Their biggest problems have been, they've been swept by the Tigers, the Rangers, and the Rockies, which is, in some ways inexplicable and both just exceedingly frustrating. I read something about the Rangers series. It just was a frustrating series, and they lost a bunch of close games and things that could have gone either way. And really, the bats, I don't think, have done well, but they started to heat up on Wednesday night, and I would expect them to return to what we expect them to see over the next couple of weeks. So bad news is they're playing good teams with the Padres and the Red Sox coming up. The good news is they're good against good teams, so maybe that won't be the worries that we have coming up.
Well, much to Molly Knight's chagrin, they won Wednesday night, and that's always good for me. Brian, thanks so much for jumping on Let's Get To. We'll talk to you in a few weeks and see how the local 9 is doing.
Excellent, James. Thank you very much.
And now, on to close it out, the right-hander from Houston, Texas, James Christopher.
So it does wrap up our Memorial Day episode of Let's Get To. I do hope everybody had a great Memorial weekend. It is okay to enjoy Memorial Day and realize that it is the start of everybody's summer, but we had a great time this weekend.
Absolutely. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know that we were gonna actually get to see some baseball today.
Yeah.
It was quite a storm that we drove through to get here, and my odds were like 90% chance it's gonna get rained out. So
driving in about 2 hours before first pitch, I could not see more than maybe a couple of feet in front of me. It was bad, but here we are. We had a great night. Great ball game tonight.
Awesome ball game. Great pitching. It was a lot of good talent on the field tonight.
And everybody playing hard, throwing hard, plays at the plate. It was really an awesome baseball experience.
Absolutely. I should mention, Railroaders came from behind.
Yeah.
It was 3-0 for a while there.
And they fought back.
Came from behind, tied it, and then ended up winning
it in the 8th on a you hit. The Salt Dogs hit a batter. How often does that happen? You hit a batter, and that's the batter that ends up beating you, and that's kind of what happened. I had oversold this park, or had I undersold it? What'd you think?
No, not oversold at all. It was an amazing park. It's called the Depot for a reason, so a lot of train memorabilia. It was so fun. Reminded me a lot of my dad. You told me it would.
Yeah.
So that part was amazing. Great time out here.
And this is our last, for a while, Texas stop. We're about to get out of Texas going forward, but I hope you had as good a time as I did.
I had a great time, and it was my first chance to get to meet Andrew for the first time.
See, we're all just coming together.
Glad to meet you, Andrew.
So we've got more baseball ahead for us. We hope that there's baseball ahead for you. Get you some peanuts, get you some Cracker Jack.
And let's get to.